I do a lot of thinking. I contemplate a lot about the world and how the world is interconnected. I enjoy, reading about different people and places and countries. Even in college, one of the first projects I had as a freshman is I had to go interview someone in my family that was preferably 80 or 90 years old and find out how the events of their lives have impacted them. But I've always been introspective, as a kid. I was just always going to places that were different. I was always really interested in other people and places, and my parents always knew I was going to leave. So I arrived in Cambodia in August 2018, and I lived there for almost 2 years when everything came down with COVID. It was a mass exodus for a lot of expats. I invested a good 2 years in learning their culture, learning their language. So I live in Tacoma, Washington, and I have been connecting with Cambodian people kind of around this general area. I met this girl, Sokantia. She was like, we started this online Bible study. You could join us. And they do it in English and Khmer, so I could practice. And that's where I met Jinda.
I was 8 when the communists took over, and then we were evacuated to the countryside.
Jinda's life changed dramatically at the tender age of 8 years old. She and her family were forced out of their home by the Khmer Rouge in Battambang.
I see people get executed, and everybody was forced to sit and look at how they executed. If you don't look at it, if you show any, if you faint, if you show any weaknesses, they accuse you you're not pro the government.
Robbed of a childhood when they took her father, her beloved dad, who held her and listened to her.
Before when dad was around, life was kind of fun. But after that, it's just suffering, one suffering after another.
In this incomprehensible environment where fear ruled, she cried for help to the God who made heaven and earth, and he carried her through every dark valley along her journey.
I used to be angry with God and why he took all the people that I love. And all the bad people, alive. I didn't understand when I was young, and why we had to go through so much suffering. But looking back, I know he did not take the suffering away, because when we strip out everything, we have a sense of needing him. We find him. He turned my heart of anger into compassion.
Not having a foundation of education due to the war, she received a full-ride scholarship and became a counselor in America.
I was so drawn. I'm still drawn to like the brokenness of people, and like I can speak their language. I can sympathize with them. I can help them walk them through and still hope in them.
She has been super open about her life story, and she is willing to go to the hard places, really hard places. And I've seen how her story, it is impacting others' lives.
She wants others to be healed and to find their voice, just as she is now beginning to share her own.
And just do that. Just listen.
So I bought this. This is called crash corn. Go in there,
So the first time I met Hung is I was coming over to Tacoma. I came out here with my son Jake and was just, spending time with some friends that I met online, and they invited me over for dinner. So that was the first time I met Hung.
I learned how to raise chicken. I was 5 years old. I have in Cambodia. My house was in the riverside, so I raised chicken already when I was 5 years old. So my mom would buy a little chick for me to raise. So, yeah.
They taught you a lot.
Yeah. So
Hung's story is like a book, ready to be opened as he begins to share his life with me.
I grew up with my aunt in the farm, so I just go to the rice field and catch the fish and stuff, and never worry about anything. It's just like live freely. Yeah. After the Khmer Rouge, after the war, there's not much to do, or they don't see the future is coming for Cambodia. It might be another civil war. It could be something else. Mm-hmm. Back then, very strict government. If they know you escape, they caught you, you'll be jailed for life. Who knows?
Over the course of a year, I come to know Hung and his journey of leaving the safety net of his parents and raising himself at the tender age of 12 in refugee camps before crossing to settle in America, a long-awaited dream. As he unraveled his story over many cups of tea, he unfolds many valleys where darkness seems to revel as he crossed the waters, hiding under plastic on a fishing boat as he escaped his homeland. But he exudes resilience and courage, facing the giants before him with a calm, humble demeanor.
I've been through a lot. Grew up basically like no parent, independent. I was born, Khmer Rouge took over, not have a good time. Here am I again, in the refugee, no parent. It's not having a good time. I say nothing comes easy in life. If you come too easy in life, you will not learn much, or not appreciate much either, yeah.
I think with Hung, he sees the value of living life to the fullest. And that means being present for your kids. Sorry. Because he, not having parents, and I think that's something that, that I've really tried to do for my kids too. I started writing a book back, I guess, about 10 years ago because my husband died of brain cancer. I just was processing so much during that time of watching his physical body just deteriorate so fast. And so I wanted to just write it down. It's really hard. When I wrote my book, I was crying through it because that's what you're doing. You're processing your own story. You're processing all that you went through. So after my husband died in 2012, I ended up 2 years later in 2014 moving to Rwanda with my children, Jake and Lizzie. And the Rwandan story really impacted all of us. You know, in Cambodia, there was the Khmer Rouge of the late 70s. Just like Rwanda went through the genocide against Tutsi. So every April, which is when the genocide started there, they tell their stories. So in every village, they gather together, they share their stories of what happened, because they don't want it to happen again. That's why we share history. We don't want to repeat ourselves. And so they shared their stories. They cried together. They mourned together. And that was powerful. And the stories I heard over and over again were about forgiveness. But I know that it's still really hard, you know, for a lot of people to share. But because I wrote my story and I received a lot of healing from that, I know that being able to share your story, it's going to help them heal. And so that's another purpose in writing. It's really part of the process to heal.
As I think of Hong, I'm reminded of my own children no longer having a dad on this earth, and the great loss in society of good dads. I'm reminded of the sorrow of so many who get lost, who lose their way without support, and yet somehow Hong was able to rise above the adversity, exhibiting resilience, patience, and long-suffering without complaint or a fight. I think the world needs to hear more stories like Hong's.
I so admire Jinda's important work to advocate and walk alongside those who suffer greatly. She has been a blessing to her people and many others who have been through trauma. We definitely need more people like Jinda who are courageous to walk the hard road. She doesn't hide the broken pieces and shrapnel under the rug, but she brings them out. She knows the healing process is hard and can be long, but it's worth it.